Welcome to the Personal Injury Law Show. My name's Harry Nowicki. I'm a common law lawyer looking after injured people. This is my colleague Tony Carbone, and we're both lawyers of various experiences looking after injured people. We're here just to talk about cases that have been decided by the courts throughout Australia about people who are injured, compensation, and how the courts approach these matters. And we're here to express some opinions that have been built up over a number of years. Tony, the first case went to the High Court in 2005. It was a case of unusual facts. Perhaps we can just talk about the facts and then give views about what should have happened, what could have happened, and what did happen. The facts of the case were that two people went to a hotel, I think near Albury.
Sorry, Albany.
Albany in Perth, West Australia. Sorry.
Yep.
And they were there till 4 a.m. in the morning. What you do in a hotel? They were drinking. Then they left the hotel, wandered down a street. One of the people staggered onto the street, fell over and lay in the middle of the road. His friend was wandering along the side of the road. Along comes a tow truck driver at 4 a.m. in the morning. He looks at the person staggering on the side of the road. He's waving his arms and he's not saying anything, but waving his arms. The tow truck driver thinks this bloke might wander onto the road, so he veers towards the middle of the road. He's looking at the person on the side of the road, and then, surprise, surprise, he suddenly sees a body in the middle of the road, asleep, and he runs over the body.
Harry, he's not sure if he saw a body. He said he saw something. But then he slowed down and then thought, bugger it, I'll keep going. So he kept going, he ran over it.
He ran over the body?
Yes.
Most people would say, well, what could he do? Bad luck. I mean, the person who was run over suffered quite nasty injuries. He was a 29-year-old, suffered nasty injuries. The tow truck driver was 22, young bloke, 4 a.m, called out to a job, I think. But most people would say, well, look, what could he do? He's driving along, and all of a sudden at 4 a.m. in the morning, unexpectedly, totally unknown to him, there's a body lying in the middle of the road. What could he do?
Well, a couple of important pieces of information is that he said that he could see probably about 100 and something metres ahead of him. He took his eyes off the road for 2 to 3 seconds to look at the guy on the side of the road. Well,
he was just trying to avoid. He thought the bloke on the side of the road, he thought was going to wander off into the road. He thought he was drunk and looked drunk. So he did the right thing and he veered towards the middle of the road.
But he was totally distracted in the sense that he didn't really watch the road. So if he had kept his eyes on the road and the footpath, he probably would have he said he did see something on the road, and the normal person thinking, oh, what could it be, would probably slow down. He didn't slow down. He said
could he have slowed down and stopped and braked in time?
It's possible. On the facts before the courts, I say before the courts because it went to three courts.
It went to 3 courts?
Yes.
What did the first judge say?
The judge said no fault.
The tow truck driver couldn't have done anything to prevent the accident?
He said there was no
that's
breach
common
of
sense,
duty.
isn't it, Tony?
It sounds like it's common sense, but I mean, mind you, the only evidence in this case was the actual driver of the tow truck. The guy lying down on the road couldn't give evidence. He had no memory of it.
Well, he was drunk and unconscious.
That's right.
We think.
And neither party called the guy on the side of the road.
Well, that's curious. Why wouldn't they call that person?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably wouldn't advance either party's case. Who knows?
Well, were they worried about what he was going to say?
Possibly. But both parties thought their best position was put forward by just the tow truck driver's evidence. Both parties thought the same thing.
The judge in the first instance got it right?
No, I don't think so. Because he took his eyes off the road for 2 to 3 seconds.
That's not long.
The courts say that a car's a lethal weapon.
But the judge in the first instance didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that. It went on appeal to the full court of the Perth court, and they found negligence against the tow truck driver.
He was negligent. It was his fault.
Yes.
100%?
No. What they did was they said that the injured party, Manly, they knocked off 70% of what he got for his own contributory negligence, which is very high. But they obviously wanted to look after him because the facts supported a finding of negligence, I think. The facts being that he took his eyes off the road for 2 to 3 seconds. He could see at least 100 and something metres ahead of him, and he took his eyes off 2 to 3 seconds is a long time.
Was he driving at a breakneck speed?
No, he was doing 55 to 60 k's, which is the speed limit. However, it was wet. The road was wet. There was some evidence that it was either drizzling or the road was wet, or both. And he should have slowed down, perhaps. At 55 to 60 k's, you're travelling 16.66 metres per second. So, there's about 50, 60 metres that he would have had if he was watching a road to brake.
So you support the TAC and their ads, drive slowly or
drive to the conditions. Drive to the conditions, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay. So, Court of Appeal said 30% he was to blame, and Manly, who was lying on the road, 70% to blame.
He got 70% taken off.
What happened then?
Well, they appealed it. The tow truck driver's lawyers appealed it to the High Court.
And the High Court?
Well, the High Court said the 30% was a fair finding. Look, I don't know how they got the 30%. Realistically, it could have been 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. Who knows?
I mean, Manly had been drinking and had lost consciousness and had wandered. He was negligent by wandering onto the road, collapsing, we think. He had no memory, but you infer, or probable, that he'd been drinking to excess.
Well, he had 12 stubbies. That was the evidence.
12 stubbies.
Yeah.
It's a fair amount.
Full strength. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've done 12.
Yeah. Yep. And wandered onto the road, and then, so he was 70% to blame.
Yep.
And the tow truck driver was 30% to blame.
Which I think was high, because if you have a look at the...
But look, the judge in the first instance said no blame on the tow truck driver.
Look,
didn't he get it right?
No, you can't totally exonerate him. He said that he saw something on the road, and instead he slowed down initially and then just sped up again. Didn't brake. He could have stopped. I reckon he
could have stopped?
Yeah. I reckon their result would have been 50-50.
Well, the High Court, it was 5 judges. 3 said the finding of 30-70 was right. 2 judges said no negligence. So it was it was a very close call, and it could have gone either way. And on balance, the court said, look, weighing up all those factors, the driver is still somewhat to blame.
I'm not even sure if they were asked to consider the issue about 70-30. I think they were just asked to consider whether the
driver was negligent.
The driver was negligent.
Yeah, and they said yes, he was. Yep. And they didn't overturn over that decision. No. All right. Well, that's a case about a pedestrian hit by a motor car in very unusual circumstances, and
it highlights the court's.
I agree with you. The courts generally look after pedestrians who've been hit by motor cars. That's all we've got time for. We're having a break. We'll be back after the break.